Hey guys, is this thing on?
I'm sure I plugged it in. Is that plugged in over there?
Andy, is this thing on?
Check here. 1, 2.
Is this thing on?
Check. I have phantom power. Oh, there it is.
Welcome to Chicks with Gear, the podcast where three lifelong friends get together to drink some coffee, play some music, talk about gear, and our quest for the most perfect acoustic sound on stage.
Yes.
I'm Deb.
I'm Julie.
I'm Andy.
Who's not a chick. No, he's not. He's the fabulous Andy Most and our resident gearhead. Hey, Andy.
What's up, Julie?
Who do we have in the house today?
We are privileged to have singer, songwriter, Grammy-nominated bass player extraordinaire, Miss Beth Lawrence.
Woo! Welcome back to the studio 3-0.
I'm happy to be here.
Well, we're so excited to have you here. We have a great story of how we met, don't we?
Yes.
Yes. So I know your dad, and your dad, George, has been teaching Coco mandolin, my 14-year-old, but she was really little when he started teaching her and didn't know that you were his daughter. And then he let me know, and I was like, wow. He's like, how do you not know her? And I said, I don't know. We know all the same people. And then we did a show together with your dad and you, and it was really fun, and we got to meet you. And so we're so excited to have you here.
Oh, I had so much fun meeting you guys at the theater that night. And I hear about Coco all the time with the lessons, and he loves teaching her and spending time with her and going through new songs and her getting excited about him, and then he gets excited about him. And so I've heard about her for years. Yeah.
Yes, he is so kind.
Well, Beth, one of the most exciting things about having you here, besides the fact that you're fabulous, is that you're our first chick with gear on the show.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Yes.
That is fantastic.
Hey, ladies.
Yes.
Yes.
I was thinking what we were previously discussing in the green room.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
We should all go do some mushrooms. Oh,
Well, we could do some lion's mane mushroom, Andy.
Andy.
it's not this. All right.
Oh, man.
I may or may
No
not
bueno.
have been out in a field in South Florida at like 5 a.m. looking for lion's mane before with a friend.
He was ahead of his
a
time.
lifetime ago.
Behind a barn.
Hey, ladies, although I'm still up in the air about this, but
Yes.
I'm pretty sure that we should do what you were talking about in the green room earlier tonight. I could use some magic mind, I think.
Oh, yes.
Oh, okay. Beth, would you like to join us with some Magic Mind?
Oh.
I've heard about it, but I've never tried it.
Okay.
But I've heard that it's great, but it's hard to know till you try it.
Exactly.
It's magical.
It has matcha in it, so you have to shake it up a little bit. Otherwise, it sticks to the bottom. And
It's chilled.
It is chilled.
It's gotten greener.
It's going to get you chilled, is what it's going to do.
I don't know. All right.
Do you have...
Ready?
Sure on it.
Yeah,
If you don't like it, you don't have to drink it.
that's right. You won't hurt my feelings.
But it's got a little...
Should we cheers?
Yeah.
Cheers.
All right, cheers.
Don't get any on this
Love
if you
that.
really don't like it. Cheers.
Here we go.
Oh, it's not bad.
No.
Kind of tastes a little bit like orange.
It does.
It just reminded me of this. You might know this. People probably know
I don't know
this.
this.
I did not know it. I was watching an old interview with Jerry Douglas, Blue Chip Picks,
Yeah.
because when the guy, I should know his name, is grinding them or polishing them, whatever, it gives off blue sparks, even though they are brown.
Oh, really?
There you have it.
I love that.
More info than you needed.
That sounds pretty magical, too.
Yeah,
I had no idea.
me neither.
How are you feeling after that Magic Mind?
I feel pretty good. I think Give it a little time. It says, do more, stress less. I think I could use a lot of that.
Me too.
Boost energy and focus. Crush procrastination.
Oh,
That's really,
That's a really good one.
yeah.
It'd never
Elevate
work
mental
here.
clarity. I wish it would elevate my mental capacity.
Me too.
I'm still waiting on that one. Looking at your bio, you've done so many things in the musical world. Tell us a little bit about how you started.
Well, I grew up in Kenosha, Wisconsin, and there were 5 kids in my family. My dad had always played a little bit of country music, just around town or, in the house or with a couple buddies. And when we were growing up, my dad was a police officer and my mom was going to nursing school and then she was a nurse. And we just lived in the city and he became a sheriff's deputy and then he was a detective. And so he had a lot of stress at work. And then when he would come home, he would play more music, it seemed like, as he got older, because there was more stress, I think, at work, and it was kind of his stress relief.
What was his instrument of choice back then?
Well, he mainly played guitar, and then he bought a mandolin and started playing mandolin, and then he went to banjo, and then he went to dobro, and I don't know if that's the exact order, but he played fiddle too.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And he loves Cajun fiddle. And so he's been playing more and more Cajun fiddle at home now. But
Love that.
he would come home and he would have his tape player and he would record a line and then he would record harmony on top of it. So he would just play all the parts and sit around by himself. And then if we came around, he'd teach us songs and we'd listen to records on the record player. And he'd just sit around and play music. And my mom would work some during the day as a nurse. And sometimes he would pick up a second or a third shift and he would sleep late and then he'd get up and we would kind of like demolish the house. And so we'd always have like the couch cushions off the couch and just a big mess. And he would sit us all down and he would hand us instruments. And he's like, all right, everybody's going to learn an instrument. He's just trying to keep us busy.
It's genius.
Yeah. So he would sit around and me and my 2 sisters would sing. My older brother, he's a year older than I am. He played guitar and he would sing a little bit, and he pretty much knows the words to just about every song.
Oh, wow.
And
That's amazing.
but he doesn't sing that much anymore.
Oh.
And but I think that having to play music with your sisters cannot always be that much fun. And
I don't believe that. No.
so he's a veterinarian now, so he makes pretty good money. But he still likes to play a little bit. And then my little brother played tuba, and he also played bass and a little guitar. But my sisters played fiddle and mandolin and guitar, and we all sang together. So we had, my dad was playing with some guys in town, and they were playing in the basement of one of his friends' houses, and we would always go along, and sometimes we'd fall asleep. My dad would be playing music, and then he'd take us home, and sometimes we'd sing, and then he found a bass that was on sale at a music store that's going out of business in Zion, Illinois. And he got it for, I think it was like $400 or $600, and it needed some repair. And it's the same bass I have now. It's a OK, and it's a 53. And so, yeah, like I used to play piano and clarinet, and I never played, like I never really, my dad would try teaching me, and I would just kind of feel like, he would try teaching me something and I didn't want to learn it. And then he'd say, if you want to sing with us, you have to learn to play bass.
Oh.
So then we would go to jams, and all the older guys that played were so great to us. That were bass players. Like my dad didn't play bass. But there was this guy, John, down in Zion at the music store, and he played jazz and he played bluegrass. But they'd sit and there was no judgment. And they were great. Like every time you go and we'd play, and we were always like the last ones to leave a jam session. And I never practiced like till I went to go to a jam or a festival because I was more of a social person. I was like, how do you practice bass by yourself? And then as I got older, I had to learn.
Yes.
But so we had a family band for a while. And then when I was 21, I moved to Johnson City. and went to school at ETSU. I went for like a semester and a half. I was going for choir directing in Wisconsin, and I was going to finish out at ETSU, but I didn't. I went for the Bluegrass program, and I ended up not playing in the Bluegrass program. Well, not being in the Bluegrass program, but I was in the band for 3 years.
Oh, wow.
So I lived in the area.
That's awesome.
Wait, an education.
Right. So, but I think the education was like getting to jam with all the people in the area every night.
Yeah.
And sometimes we'd play till like 6 a.m.
Oh my gosh.
And then we go to our jobs, and then we'd rest up for about an hour.
Sleep in
and a
the
half.
car.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and then after that, I moved to North Carolina, Knoxville, and then North Carolina, and then Nashville. So I moved to Nashville in about 2004.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
That's fabulous. Well, that's one of the things. See, your dad hooked you early. Is if you can, like, when you're starting to learn an instrument, you're in your room by yourself. But if you can play with other people, like I would, with my kids, it's the same thing. Struggle. They don't want to practice because they don't see the fun part, which is when you play with everybody.
Right.
And then it's like I would say, just hang in there. You're getting there. It's almost the time where you get to play with friends, and it's so much fun. And it makes. I mean, you could play for 6 hours and or till 6 a.m, and it just goes by like that. But
Or if they could go to jam sessions.
Jam
that would
sessions,
be great because
yes.
some of the older players, especially local people,
yeah,
the kindest people to you are the people in those jam sessions. And then once you get playing, it's always a little bit of a, what can you do? Instead of it being it still is supportive, but it's never as supportive as those initial jam sessions.
yeah.
And that's good for them to have.
Your
growing
dad
up.
has recommended that also.
Yeah.
Yes.
But they also play sports, so it's
We
hard.
did too.
Oh,
We did too.
It's like it's hard to get it all in, but yeah, we definitely want to try that. They get to play with us, which is great,
Yeah.
as long as I don't say anything.
Good luck.
It's
So-
always that parent-child dynamic.
Yes.
Sometimes that can be difficult.
Yes.
Kenosha, right? Are
Yeah.
you familiar with Kenosha Music? The store there?
Somewhat.
Is it?
Do you mean out on Green Bay Road or
I've never
Cassetti's?
been there. I just know from back in the day, people on a bus, wherever, they would get prices on gear, and then they would call Kenosha Music and buy from them instead of other places because they always had the best deal. You would think, like, Kenosha.
My dad would always go to the music store and he would play guitars for hours and he'd compare them. And then he'd always be talking to somebody. He's like, well, I got a really good deal. But he was always, like, we had 5 kids and he made decent money, but, he spent it all on us growing up. And he was never selfish with his money. Like, he always felt guilty if he bought something. But if he found a really good deal, he'd be like, can we work this out? And it would take him a while to mull it over, but he would always go out to the outlet and he would play through all the guitars all the time and compare them.
Kenosha had the deals, though. That's the only thing that I know about Kenosha.
I didn't know
It was
that,
like-
though. Yeah.
That's funny. You've done a lot since you've been in Nashville. It's a little bit about your journey in Nashville because you've played with some huge people. You were nominated for a Grammy and in an all-girl group, which is rare. And so tell us.
Well, I think that you just, in the music business or especially in the bluegrass world, everybody kind of grows up together and you don't think of yourself as being huge or anything like that. You just think of it being a fun journey and everybody you meet kind of becomes family. And you end up playing with just about everybody. And it just, a lot of it is, you can build up this persona and wanting jobs or whatever, but a lot of it's word of mouth. If somebody needs somebody, they'll say, who do you think would fit? Or who do you think I could get? And somebody will give a reference. So when I was leaving Johnson City area, I was playing with the Stevens sisters. And then I played with my friend Gina Britt and Ashby Frank. We had a band with Clay Jones, and then we had Shannon Slaughter and a couple different people where we would travel. And I played at Dollywood and stuff like that. And then when I moved to Nashville, I gone on a trip with Jim Hurst and my friend Bethany Dick. I met her there. And I ended up moving in a house with her here. And she was with Pam Tillis. We were talking about that. And she's back living in town now. And I started playing with Mark Newton. And I knew of Mark Newton a little bit. He did like a Back to the Well album with women in bluegrass, and he did a couple other albums. I mean, he was in Knoxville Grass, and he was in the Virginia Squires, and a lot of the music that I'd heard before. And he was in Fredericksburg. So once I moved to Nashville, I was playing in Fredericksburg, Virginia. So I'd drive 10 hours there, and then I'd get in the car with them, and I would ride. And I played in a lot of areas that I hadn't played, because I had played a lot of like Kentucky, North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, West Virginia. And he played a lot of New England. And so I got to play a lot of that area, or Florida, or different places. And then we started playing on cruises. So we were playing on a cruise every year for a bluegrass cruise. And so you kind of get to know a whole other section of the music that and people and history, like it's stuff at the Birchmere and things like that you didn't know before. And then after that, I would fill in with different people all the time. And I'm trying to think of different people I played with. But Ron Block is a good friend of mine. He lives in Franklin, and he plays banjo and guitar. He was playing with Alison Krauss, and then he does his own stuff. He has his own albums that came out. When he had CD releases, we would go out and we promote those. And I think I did that right after Mark, and we enjoyed that so much. And Sierra Hull came along, and Corey Walker played banjo and dobro. And but it pushes you, because like I love the social aspect, and sometimes I get so caught up in it, and then you have to like learn the music. The great part is the people that they have on the CDs. Like you have to learn the stuff, and you have to have it sound in that vein. Yeah. Like I'm never going to sound exactly like somebody, but it makes you learn different styles, and you kind of pick up the way different bass players think, because you hear what they put on a CD or how they heard a song that you may not have heard. So I did that with him, and then played in a couple different groups. We did that Larry Cordle and Friends down at the station Inn. That was fun, with a lot of his previous band and other people too. And we did Orthophonic Joy with Carl Jackson. Ooh. And that was like a tribute to the Bristol Sessions. So we did that tour for Tennessee Tourism. I can't remember all the stuff that was on that thing, that bio, but so just a lot of different things, and people that you've always looked up to, or that you love their music. I think I went out like a weekend with Ronnie Bowman, and you're thinking, why in the world am I out here? And you just want to be listening, and you're stressing because you're thinking, please don't play something wrong.
So it sounds like you've had a tremendous amount of experience doing like all different kind of things, whether it's singing, songwriting, playing and supporting others, being in your own band. What brings you the most joy?
I think it's coming together, and it's creating a sound that's bigger than yourself. Mm-hmm. Like I was in the beginning stages of Sisters Sadie. They're a band that's playing now, and I was in it for about 6 years. And we started the band just as friends, and we played, and we all came together, and we played what we played, but it kind of created its own sound off of us coming together. Oh. And we really enjoyed the creative part of that in recording, and the interactions between the instruments and playing off of one another. So I think that it is seeing what the combination creates.
Yes.
I think that's what I really enjoy. And I guess knowing people throughout your lifetime, and even throughout the changes in life, and coming back together and playing at different points.
So
I love that too.
I do too. And one of the things that, as you were saying that, kind of, I don't know why my mind went here, but I listened to some of your music, and you have a really high voice, but you also play bass, which typically when I was in music school, they talked a lot about when you're trying to transcribe. Sometimes for women, it's harder to transcribe bass lines because our hearing hears more in the high end versus the low end. And I always did struggle to transcribe out bass lines sometimes. I would hear. So how do you feel like as a bass player, does that help you as a singer? I mean, it probably gives your ears a huge stretch, I would imagine.
I don't know. I know that I think about, and I wonder if I harp on it too much. Like I do some workshops here and there for bass, and I think about how you should play with a singer. And how you should color under a singer to support. and different placing on the bass that you would want to play in. And so I do think about that sometimes as a singer. I think that even if you're playing somewhere and if it's really humid or if the temperature is funky and everybody, their instruments are going wacko, like the banjo or guitar,
the mandolin.
A lot of times you can sing off of the bass.
Yes.
And it doesn't change as much. It depends on the bass. Some of them are really touchy, but for the most part, once you set them, they stay pretty steady. And that can kind of be your pivotal point for your vocal. Because sometimes I can get in my head and I can get distracted with different things. Like there'll be a weird sound on something and I know I need to focus and there's just a weird tone and it may be something that's off.
Magic line.
Right.
Or overtones. I hear a lot of overtones and it will distract me sometimes.
Yeah, or like a brittle tone or something. And I'll be like, oh, every time it happens. But if I just focus on like teaming off the bass, then I'm better.
Interesting.
So it can kind of be like a safety net sometimes.
So when you were mentioning earlier about teaching people how to play bass with a singer, what are some of those things you suggest?
Well, there's playing with singers, and then there's also playing with instrumental, or the instrumental part of a sound. And whether you want to do like a warm low note or whether you want to have a brighter tone. And like with guys who sing higher, a lot of times you'll want to play higher on certain parts and lower on certain parts, but you want to stay out of their range, but you want to support. Like I noticed that somebody like Leanne Womack does great with the low end because she has a little bit of a higher tone. But then like with mandolin and things like that, you know, you want to stay out of their range, but if you play really, really low and really heavy and they're playing a bright fill or a break, a lot of times it gets too muddy and it almost kind of like pulls against it. So you may want to come up where they are, but like with guitar, it's pretty MIDI. So you don't always want to be in the middle of that because it's almost like you're double timing what they're expressing. So you don't want to muddy up what they're doing. So just different things with that. It's just how I think about it. And you'll notice like walking up or walking down on albums to create space or to bring things together to support.
Ooh, I like
I don't know if that makes sense.
Yes, it actually does. I've never heard anyone say it so beautifully as you just did. I really like that.
Yeah.
So of all the things you've done, is there one moment? I think most musicians have a moment where they're like, it's just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm here. Like, is there a certain stage or people you've played with?
Besides from here today.
Just being on the podcast.
Well, once I got here, I couldn't think about anything else. I mean, you know.
We tend to do that to people. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
They never stop talking.
I think there's been a lot of places where, like, I like to be present in the moment. I know a lot of people like to be on their phone or they like to be on social media, but I like to just be where we are and take it in. Yeah. And we were nominated for a Grammy, went to the Grammys, and it was such a different environment for us to be in. And we did find all of our bluegrass people too. Oh, that's awesome. You know, and check in with them on, you know, when we were walking through or when we were in between stuff. But being able to see all of that was a different world, and it's neat. I'm not used to being in a huge arena,
right?
So different things like that, and playing arenas is a different world for us, or going to a concert in an arena. But I don't know if there's like a one pinnacle point, but a lot of the people that I've got to play with are like my heroes, you know, or the people that are what makes music worth playing and listening to, and what have kind of colored my whole life, you know, whether it was stuff I listened to like with heartbreak, or with when you needed to get revved up for the day to go to work, or when you needed inspiration and you saw that somebody else could do this and not only make a living, you know, and not even just getting rich on it, but being able to sustain yourself, and that they followed their dream, and it was something that was imprinted on you throughout your life. And then, I don't know, just being in the presence and playing something that they were playing and adding to a sound. I don't know how to explain it.
No, I think you explained it really well.
But
I concur.
I concur.
I do. It's hard. Like, to me, that's what music is. It's so unique. It's a way to express things for yourself, but also when you're playing with people, it's kind of this shared thing without even speaking with people. And I agree. Like, in times of, I mean, when you're happiest or when you're saddest, what do you reach for? You reach for music, and I think.
Well, my dad does. And I know, like, he was in a motorcycle accident. He had a lot of pain with it. But the thing that would decrease his pain was playing music. Wow. And whenever we sit around the house, we'll all play together as a family. And he's so happy.
Yes.
Or me and my sister singing together. It's kind of like, we don't sing together that often anymore. But when you do, it's just a natural feel. And singing for a funeral. You know, something like that, something that's meaningful, that makes, I don't know, that's important in life.
Well, words don't always cut it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you don't know what to say, or there's no, like when people say, I have no words to help you, I always feel like music is a great way to bridge that.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, Beth, it was awesome hearing about your musical journey. And one thing I'd love to know more about is some of the gear that you brought in with you today.
Okay. Well, I brought in some. I didn't know what you guys wanted. I know it's Chicks with Gear. So I brought in my amp. I brought in the amp stand and my pickup for my bass. And then also this little rolly thing that sometimes I use.
Yes.
I started using. So.
Well, then I think it's time, everybody.
Yeah.
Let's talk gear.
Speaking of pickups, what kind of pickup you got on your bass there, Beth?
I've got a realist. It's a David Gage realist, and it has like a copper plate that goes under the bass side foot. If you're looking at the bass, it's on the left side. And if you could do it on that side, it's a little bit warmer, a little bit darker.
Right.
Sometimes it can be a little dark for like an American Standard or a King that may be like a little bit darker of a bass, but with the K that I have, it really works well, and so that's what I use.
Does that go straight into the amp, or?
Goes straight into the amp. I used to have an AKG C418 or C419, which was like a kick drum microphone, and it was so easy because it didn't have to be set one way or another. No matter where you went, it was really easy to use. It had a phantom power, but sometimes in the gooseneck, I would get a short, and so I had to keep buying them. Right. So sometimes I would blend the two, but I do like the realist.
Hey, Beth.
Yeah.
I was wondering who a couple of your upright bass player influences might be.
Oh, there's really so many.
Right.
Like Roy Huskey Sr., Roy Huskey Jr., Bob Moore, a lot of people that play music now. Kent Blanton, I love his playing in town. He's played with people for years. And Barry Bales, Todd Phillips, Mark Schatz. But there's so many.
There you go.
They're
Excellent.
amazing, yeah.
Thank you. So, we saw you rolling that amp in. I was curious. That guy is still happy to be here.
He is so happy. Yes. Yes.
So kind of a little angry-ish too. You got a little.
I was wondering what kind of amp that was you rolled in here.
It's a GK Kruger.
Excellent. What's the speaker in it? A size speaker? Like a
I knew you were going to
15 or
ask
something?
me that. Yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and I was like 12, 15. I know. It's like that Mr. Mom.
Right. 220 to 221.
Whatever it takes. And I was thinking, what was it? I bought it a while ago. Like, I know everybody else would know, but I was like, it works. Yeah. And then a lot of times I'll put it up on just a little stand to keep it off the floor, because sometimes it gets lost in the floor. It depends on if the floor is hollow or not. but I can hear it better up by me and adjust it as I need to. But, with bass wave lengths, they're a little bit longer.
Right.
So it depends on the room. Sometimes you want it closer to you. Sometimes you want it a little further away to really get the full depth of the sound to know what you're working with. And then...
Chicks with Gear and me, guitar nerd here. What kind of strings are you using?
Yeah.
I have Pure Astro right now. They were a gift, and I'm not, big on knowing a lot about strings.
Right.
When I first got the bass, it had gut strings on it, and I didn't know anything. Like when I first got the bass, there was no case for it, and there was 5 of us kids traveling in a van, and there would always be scissors and I don't know whatever else in the F hole, down in the, and we were always shaking it out. So I've never been the greatest, with really knowing gear, but I've learned throughout the years what works. I love Tomastics. I love Zyaks.
Strings are
were
spendy,
wonderful.
man.
Yeah.
They're spendy, and I don't like spending that much money, and I don't change them as often as I should. Because, you make a certain amount of money and, it works and you go with it. But that was a gift, and they're wonderful. And they have just enough give. And it is a little bit, it still is a steel, but it's a little bit like a gut. And I would love to be able to have gut strings and play on them a little bit more now that I understand them a little bit better. But I was playing a lot at festivals, and the humidity sometimes would, and they were old, they were put on there. I didn't know anything about them. They were unraveling. But the more I see and I hear players, Dennis Crouch is one of my favorite bass players too. I forgot about that.
Dennis.
But he plays a lot of times with guts, and so does Kent. And they're just great. And I would like to have more time because there is a delay. With steel, the sound is more readily available, so you pull back and it's right there. But with gut, there is a little bit of a delay, and if you're not used to it, some people will put a G string, they'll put a steel, and then the gut on the D. And if you get up and you play somebody else's bass that does that, you play the first note, and the second note will be late, and you'll just about break your finger or sprain your finger because it's you're wrapping your finger around a rubber band because you don't realize just how much give it's going to have, and you're trying to pull the same pressure and have that note right away, and so it'll be delayed. So I would like to have more time to kind of play around with it and know what response you're going to get and the tone that you're going to get, and get out what you want, if that makes sense.
That's interesting.
Absolutely.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Thank
Not
you.
that you would
Yeah.
almost break your finger, but
Well, but you're just what just happened?
something
That was not good.
wait.
Foul.
Yeah.
I
Oh, that's
hate
not foul.
changing strings.
There you go. Wow.
I kind of liked that because it was whoa.
Yeah, I like that one.
Wait.
But I hate changing strings. I find it a bloody experience from time to time. And the worst is get those little tiny mandolins right under there.
Oh, yeah.
Whew. So,
Yeah. And the tips of your fingers are so sensitive with the ends of your nerves. So, yeah.
it's not pleasant.
No.
It is not.
No good.
Yes, it's a sweaty experience too for me.
And you're mad by the end of it, usually.
And then it's not in tune.
Right. Right.
Yes.
I know you're waiting for a snarky comment from over here,
Yes,
but it's
I'm
not
waiting.
coming.
I know.
I gave you some runway.
I know. Andy does it so
Staying out of
fast.
it.
Yes. Andy has helped me get better at it. And when I am totally oh no, I have 2 instruments, he has offered on numerous occasions and actually did them for me, I will say. But it's a lot of work to change strings.
She had an electric string winder.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I've seen drills, those
Yeah,
little
it's
drill
like that.
things. Yeah.
This one was it was a drill.
It's right
but
back there behind you, Andy. The weapon.
Oh, yeah.
The weapon.
And I went the wrong direction on it. Busted the string like that and tattooed her, man.
Yes.
It hit her.
It looked like a figure eight.
Yeah.
Like a brand.
Drew blood. It's all right.
Within seconds.
That's the first and last time that was used.
I saw it on YouTube. It looked like a really good idea.
Well, if you do the right direction, it might be.
That was just payback, Andy. I know it. I know it
Whoopsie
was.
doodles.
It's like, oh, it's backwards. Mm-hmm.
Oh. Bluegrass guys and girls stand behind one mic and everybody just leans in. And I mean, we don't know how you would do that.
That's an option. If you want to do the omnidirectional microphone, a lot of times we'll do single microphones, and then I'll put the bass behind me, or I'll put it to one side of the stage so it aims. But I don't aims to across the stage so everybody can hear. But I don't want to aim it right into the microphone I don't want it to bleed in or have feedback. With the omnidirectional, I really have to be careful because that will feedback quicker.
Oh, yeah.
So I need to always be sure to face it away, but to where somebody can hear it, and it probably would be quieter on stage. And there's kind of a choreography that goes with the omnidirectional. So some people use it and some people don't, but you want to be careful because, you know, you can take somebody's head off with a headstock or step on someone, or especially when I have the bass coming in and out and people going around. So I've done that some, but I haven't been in a band that does it, you know, all the time. And some people are so great at it. So we do it in survival mode whenever I go play somewhere, and that's what they have. But it seems to work better with the single microphone, and then everybody having their own microphone on a consistent basis if you're not familiar with the choreography and all that.
And I would think it's hard, even though you're standing close together. But if you're in a club or a stage or wherever or outside, how do you hear everybody? I bet, like, because even when it's just the three of us, it's hard to hear, you know, if Deb's over there or, you know, it's hard to hear everybody on stage, especially if they're talking.
I think it's so nice to have that one mic to hear everyone, because we love in Bluegrass, like we love jamming. And like our favorite thing was like to get in somebody's living room or get in a stairwell or in a little cubby, like at a hotel in a Bluegrass festival. You know, you find like a little cove and everybody kind of comes around. So in a way that kind of creates that same cocoon sort of, and you can hear everybody really well and the people playing off of one another. And then when we play on stage, sometimes you do have to separate out. I do like it when you're not straight across, and you can almost kind of have just a little bit of like a
me?
Yeah, like
a
you sort of. It doesn't have to be so strong of a you, but just, and a lot of times if there's a lead singer, I like being back just a little bit so I can watch their mouth, or I can sometimes hear them a little bit better. And kind of get a feel for what everybody else is doing. So you kind of have to find like the sweet spot to where you can, you know, tap into what everybody's doing when they're doing it and still stay connected, even though it may be a crazy setup on stage, you know?
Yeah.
And I think when we started playing bigger stages, and when we did a lot of outdoor stuff with Charlie Daniels, that was probably the hardest thing for me, was not having the closeness of everyone. Because then I felt like I was an island unto myself. And even if I could hear it, there's something about like the physicality of energy between people that sort of dissipates the further away you get, I think. And so I love the idea of being on a big stage with a big audience, but I think I prefer a little bit closer to the people on stage.
And I think that I think everything is an adjustment, and it's finding whatever environment you're in and finding what works best. And on a bigger stage, like it's whether or not you need the band up a little bit, or so that you feel like they're around you, that they're supporting you more, because then it's almost like if you feel like you're out there on an island and you know they're out there somewhere, you may put out too much effort. And then you feel like you're going beyond yourself. You're like your zone of like what you do best. And then you feel like, well, I just really blew past what I was supposed to do, or I oversang, or I wasn't able to hear because I was stressing. But I played during the pandemic. I played at church down in Franklin, and it was a totally different experience for me. It was like a worship team, and they had it all set up in in-ears. You know, in-ears is a different world too, but it felt like the same experience. And so they had that figured out because they were familiar with that, but I wasn't as familiar. So I did see how everybody was spread across stage, but it was like they were sitting right next to each other. So I think everything comes with an adjustment.
Yeah.
I don't always know what that adjustment is, but I think, you know, if you spend enough time with it, but when you're thrown into a situation, you're kind of in survival mode and you're trying to grasp for what you know.
Yes.
I don't know if that makes sense, but
Yes.
that's how I think about it afterwards, you know, like, well, how did that happen? You know, what did I do that for? That was stupid. You know? Yeah.
Well, they're learning experiences because it's the first time. But I'll never forget that when we got on one of those big stages, it was like, now what? I can't even see her eyes, and we sing together a lot. And so, to your point, like I watch her mouth a lot if I'm singing harmony to her, or even if I'm not. Like I'm always trying to watch her, see what she's doing. And now that I'm older, it's harder to see far away.
Yeah, don't stand over there. I can't see you.
I can't see you.
Oh.
I notice you guys standing further and further apart these days.
Well, and when I first started playing mandolin, I barely could put chords together. So I was just kind of chopping away. And now that I have expanded my world and Andy's coached me on stepping out and taking some solos, now I feel like I need to be looking at Andy too and Julie, because I got to make sure I'm not coming in when I shouldn't be coming in when he's about to solo.
Taking Andy solo.
Yeah,
Oh,
copping
no.
his licks. I'm like, oh, that's a good one. It's a lot when you go from different kind of stages.
And so since Deb and myself are doing more and more kind of twin licks together, and Julie now getting in the action here, so I'm trying to get over on Deb's side just for eye contact, whatever. And then David's over there, and which is like the arch enemy of acoustic guitar, having bass in your acoustic guitar. It sounds terrible. Love hearing, so I don't do that. So I try to, because I don't want to put a feedback buster in.
Feedback buster.
I think you're always looking for cohesion, though, in
absolutely.
a band. And even if you're spread out, you're still like looking for your people, looking for your sound, and making sure that it stays glued together. And I think that that's part of it. Not that you're like afraid to be on your own, standing by your own, but you're making sure that, hey, are we still on the same boat?
Yeah.
We're still, riding that wave together.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yeah, because it's no fun when somebody decides to get off the boat and play something not with everybody else.
Right.
Not saying that we've ever
Portage.
experienced that. Yes.
Portage.
Help!
Come back. Come back. We're over here.
I am sinking here.
You play on one, not that one. The other one.
Which one?
Okay, so you were carrying something when you came in, and I was like, ooh. It almost looked like one of those little hydro scooters. Oh, yeah. Like that's what it looked like, because the kids have them.
Oh, yeah.
And but it was small, and I was like, what's that do?
Yeah. Well, I have this thing, and it's like a bass caddy. I used to see these all the time, and some of them had like this wooden like brace, kind of like pita cut in half. You know how it has like that hole in the middle?
Yes.
But it was like made out of wood, and it would go around the bottom of your bass, and you just kind of like push it kind of like a, I don't know, like a stroller sort of. And so I would see those at bluegrass festivals, and I was thinking, well, that's interesting, but I'm not going to get one, because a lot of times, growing up, like, everybody's like, how did you do playing with guys? And do they pick on you? And, I enjoy playing with guys. And most of the guys that I've played with all the years are just like your buddies, like your cousins or your brothers, and they pick on you that way. And it's been great. And they've taught you things throughout the years, but they will pick on you. And
You can't look weak.
Never. We don't know that.
you're like, I don't want to be, being a whiner, or you don't want to be like wussing out and,
Just kidding.
so it's like I would carry my bass everywhere. And then I do massage therapy, and then also you carrying your bass and your amp all the time. And sometimes long distances, it does hurt.
Yes.
And if you're not going upstairs, and like we're walking through a convention center or something like that, I thought, maybe that thing would help, And I saw in the trade show at IBMA, they had like this bass caddy or bass buggy, and it's like a flat plastic thing that has these wheels and that are rubber, and it has like a little almost like a seatbelt material that comes off, and it has a little hole, and it goes through your end pin, and then you put the side of the bottom, the big part of the bass on that, and then it wraps up around and comes around in a little bungee cord, kind of like you would around a yoga mat, has that little ball.
Oh, yeah.
And then as you go, you just kind of guide it as you walk, and it's so easy. And I've seen people like put another end pin, or they put like a wheel on the bottom of their end pin. But I think that especially if you're walking like on gravel or on a sidewalk where it has the little rivets, that can shake your bass so much and kind of shake your bass bars loose. So you have to be careful of the integrity of your bass and not just go for convenience. But I think that it has like a little bit
terrible. If you were a guy right now, I would say integrity and bass, but you're not. So I'm not going to do it. Sorry. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Please let Beth go start over where she was.
What were we saying about the guys? Oh, yeah. Just kidding.
But on the little plastic platform that your bass sits on, it has like a cut up yoga mat that is for shock absorption. Okay. So I think that that's about as good as you're going to get for the bass. And you just have to be careful where you do walk it so that it doesn't do too much jarring with your bass. You don't want your bass bars to come loose or your end pin to come loose or the bottom to kind of shake loose.
Yeah, that would be bad.
Yeah, it'd be very bad. It'd be Rattle City.
Especially right before the gig. Oh, no.
Right.
You've played a lot of festivals, right? I mean, there's a lot of crazy people at festivals. Have you ever seen a bass that somebody put wheels right on it? You know, of course you wouldn't do that too good. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that a lot. And but our study thing that everybody used to go for is they would put like tennis balls on the bottom of the bass because it was easy, or they would put like cane ends on the bottom of the bass because it was just something cheap and easy. Right. But I've seen wheels right on it. But if you try to stand still, like you're never going to stand still with that wheel. Like I have a hard time. Yeah, I have a hard time.
Little brakes on your
just
wheels.
now staying still and holding it with my leg a little bit, but that's about it.
Yeah, those things are big. I really want Kirkland. So Coco's twin brother, Kirkland. I really want him to play upright bass. That's my plan. So far, he hasn't taken the bait.
No.
But, you know.
Now, do you play electric bass?
I've only played electric bass like in a jam session if I showed up at a house, or sometimes I've gone to a show and they say, get up here and play. And I'm like, I don't play that.
Play that.
Right. But I think that they're really interesting and I'd love to have one at home to play. And so if I'm practicing and I don't want to get my bass out, or if I'm somewhere where I can't get my bass out, I'll play the top 4 strings of a guitar to practice or get, like, I like repetition to keep songs I'm not familiar with in my head. And so a lot of times that helps, or like drawing a fingerboard on a piece of paper if I'm flying, and then like kind of like playing with my fingers. But I would love to have an electric bass at home to kind of do that, or to try different things out that you hear on an album that you wouldn't readily play it on a upright bass, but they're playing the lick on an album that would go right to electric bass, and then you may be able to think how it would transfer. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So do you, as a bluegrass bass player, or you know of any other bluegrass bass players, put any effects on your bass, like any pedals? Or is that
like
frowned upon?
I don't
tremolo,
know.
wah-wah?
Well, I mean, you know, you would just do the EQ, or you could pad it or not pad it. But I don't do too much effects on it, to tell you the truth. But it doesn't mean that other people don't. I just don't know about it.
Just curious.
I'm sure Billy Strings, bass player, has.
Well, you know, people like that might, you know. I'm just joking.
Yeah, no, that wasn't meant towards you. I'm just saying if anybody does.
No, I'm happy for him if he does. If he does, I'd just like him to show me how to do it.
Right.
Yes.
You
We'll
know,
have to have him on.
even if I don't use it, I want to know why.
Yeah, I would
and
like
how.
Billy Strings to show me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, is Strings his real last name?
No,
No,
Oh, it's such a cool name.
I don't think it. No.
I don't know.
Yeah.
no.
I'm going to change my name to Deb Diodario.
Wasn't that your married name?
No, close, actually. De Sanchez.
It might be next time. No.
Yeah.
Just joking.
It's genius.
It's genius.
Yes.
Well, Beth, I think we might need a yerba toast.
Oh, yes. In our
Yes.
very big tradition here
Yes.
at 3O Studio.
We love the yerbas. And so we gave you, I think, the pomegranate and cranberry.
Yeah.
I have sparkling grapefruit and ginger. Oh, here
Ooh,
we go.
that's a good one.
Oh, yeah.
The same.
All
Are
right.
you ready? Are you
Well,
brave?
Cheers. Cheers.
Cheers.
Whoops.
Cheers.
And
And
deep on the yerbas.
Yerbas.
It is really good.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
You didn't know you were going to have to be adventurous on the show.
I'm all about it.
I can see
I don't
that
know.
about
I don't
you.
know what it's gonna be, but I'm all about it.
That's the best part of life, not knowing
is.
what's coming next.
Hopefully, it'll be good.
Well, before
Hey,
we...
y'all, watch this.
I got a yerba in one hand.
Well, Beth, before we close out our show, please tell our wonderful audience where we can find out more about you and about where to find your music, because you have some beautiful music out there, and maybe about some upcoming things, because we know you've got some.
Well, I've just been filling in with people the past couple of years, and especially since everything's kind of unfroze with the pandemic. So I'll fill in here and there. I've been playing some with Rick Faris here and there, Jim Hurst, back playing with him, and learning his music, which is hard but great, and just filling in with whatever comes along and enjoying it. There's some stuff on iTunes, and I'll be doing the bass workshop for the Monroe Mandolin Camp in September. It's September 4th through the 8th. Yeah, and it's so much fun. Like, I didn't know, I've done workshops like at festivals before, but I've never done like a camp. So Heidi Herzog called me and asked me to do it, and I was like, well, we'll see how it goes. You have to put together 10 classes, and I did it last year, and it was a good growing experience for me, and it still is. I had to put another 10 classes together for the curriculum for it this year, and Mike Compton puts it on.
Oh, wow.
He's amazing. And it's in Abingdon, Virginia, and it's at the Southwest Virginia Higher Education Center. And so we have like projection boards, and we have things where you can play the music through each room. And there's mandolins, banjos, guitar, fiddle teachers. And so the teachers are this year are Frank Sullivan, Chris Jones, Ron Block, Matt Combs, Carl Jones, Jeff Burke, and Lauren Price. So it's a lot of fun. And then
Can I come?
Yeah. Yeah. So they're still taking people to go this year. But it's so much fun. And I was like, I got there a day early because I didn't know what to expect. And I was just trying to cram a little bit because I wanted to make sure I gave them like what they needed. And I forgot to say that Paul Duff from Australia comes, and he's a mandolin maker, one of the best mandolin makers. Will Kimball. And so they're the luthiers that help people if they have issues. And then Wayne Henderson, who's one of the best guitar builders. He's always has a big old long line of people who have bought instruments and are always waiting for them, but then loving them when they get them. And he's from over in Virginia, but he'll be there too.
So how do people sign up? Is there a website, and what is
There
it
is a
called?
website. It's Monroe Mandolin Camp.
Okay.
And so I showed up, and I was nervous, and I was trying to go through all the music and find out where my room was and everything. And then I walked in the hotel room or the hotel, and there are already jammers there, and they all went to dinner that night together, and just the best people. Like, I didn't sleep very much the whole week.
Oh my goodness.
But I had the best time, and the people that come to the camp, just they I don't know, they warm your heart. They're so much fun, and they have the best zest for music and life. And I met so many people that I wouldn't have met otherwise. And then they asked me to come back again, and I was like, yes.
Oh, that's
like,
awesome.
I don't know what we're going to do, but we're going to have fun. Yeah.
It is awesome.
Yeah.
So if you're interested, there's still room.
Yeah, there's still room, and you can go to the Monroe Mandolin Camp website.
Nice.
So yeah, it's great, and it has a lot of resources. Like, it has all of Bill Monroe's songs. This year we're doing the old lonesome sound, so it's the 70s and 80s. Like last year was like the hard edge sound, so it's like the 50s through 58. So it's making me have to go back and like think of these songs in a timeline, which I'm not that great at. You know, like I know that all this happened, but I have to think about in sections now and when something was recorded. And I've heard a lot of the songs for years, but like what came before what, and what made that sound in that time period. And that's what we'll be talking about, and why you would use different tones, or what changed with the bass players. There are so many different bass players between the 70s and 80s. I think there was like 20 or 25. I have a big long list. And so we'll do a lot of the bios on all of them, and the demographics of where they came from, and like different jobs they had before, and how they kind of brought different things to the sound, and how like a lot of it's like the modal and the versus tonal, how he kind of brought some of the modal aspects back, you know, and that was kind of being revived in a lot of different genres of music at that time. So wow, yeah, it's making me learn.
Oh yeah, I was going to say, sorry, sorry to interrupt you.
Oh yeah.
Well, we did a show one time with Kenny Baker. Yeah. And he was telling us some story before he went on, and I could just visualize it, but he was talking about how they traveled back then, and how they would have to stick the bass, you know, like through the window, and then they didn't have windshield wipers. And so they would be out there like with their head out the window trying to move the snow. And so when you think about like that, like everything they went through to get music to the now, it's pretty fantastic.
Yeah, it's amazing. And we think it's hard, like in minivans or in separate cars or whatever. But a lot of times people would dump the water out of the bass and just start playing.
Isn't that crazy?
You know, because it rained on the way to a show. But so the aluminum basses actually were good for that time.
Oh, wow.
Because you couldn't really wreck them.
You have to put them on the top of the car, or, you know, stick it out the window. And it's pretty interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Beth, it was so great to have you here today to get to know more. Thank you. Yeah. And we just loved playing with you. And hopefully we'll get to see more of you now that we know more about you. Yeah. And maybe you'll find one of us at your workshop. I don't know. I'm just saying.
Well, there's good food. It's catered. So, I mean, that would be one of the reasons to come, if not to learn a couple bass notes.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm here for the food, too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Beth, man, I learned a lot about upright bass and bluegrass. So thank you.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Well, coming up next week, Jazz Williams is going to turn the tables on Andy Ness when he comes back to the studio next week and interviews Andy and his pedal board. So make sure you tune in for that.
I can't wait. We're going to find out all your secrets, finally. Well, that's all we have today. Don't forget to like and share and subscribe below. And thanks so much for tuning in. And until next time, don't you worry about it.